So, okay, ladies, glad you're here. And for those that will listen later, welcome. We are going to do the how to make a bully from scratch. And we are on the fourth intervention, years 8 to 12. So I'm going to start the video. Please let me know if you can hear it. Let's see. Can you see the screen? Okay, so can you hear it now? Thank you.
Here are some interventions for road sign number 4. I don't care. Now, when you hear a child chronically saying, I don't care, that is a red flag. Now, all kids are going to go, whatever, I don't care, I don't care. And we're talking about kids now, ages 8 to 12 years old. So you're going to get that every now and then. I'm talking chronically, I don't care, no matter what you think you're going to offer them. What kind of punishment or consequence, they're going to go, I don't care. Because punishments given to children who have been rejected are hurtful and toxic to their brain and their development. So remember, development stacks. So our road sign number 1 was a difficult temperament, and we were given some strategies about how to be more attuned to the child, how to create more attachment. You still have to do that at this age. Road sign number 2 was difficulty playing. Even now at 8 to 12, they're going to need assistance and help to play with others. Road sign number 3 was difficulty establishing and maintaining those friendships. Children will still need all those interventions. Go back to intervention 1. Go through that list. How would you apply those interventions to an 8 to 12-year-old? Go back to interventions 2. How would you apply those interventions to 8 to 12-year-olds? And you might think, oh, I don't know how to do that. Well, just with the I love you rituals with the baby doll, you can teach 12-year-olds how to play round and round the tummy with a kindergarten child, with a sibling. Be creative. Go back to the interventions I suggested at road sign 3 and apply those to 8 to 12-year-olds. In addition to that, how are we going to deal with I don't care, I don't care, I don't care, I don't care? Now, when a child says I don't care, it means they don't feel like they've been cared for. So how do we fill that hole? Like I told you, use the interventions from road sign 1, road sign 2, road sign 3. The main categories are you have to help children with a sense of belonging, a sense of mastery, build on their strengths, and they have to be of service to others. In conscious discipline, every child is asked to have a job in the classroom. This is essential for their success. They need to be of service, and we need to help them understand how they are of service and how to do that.
My name is Ruben, and I have jobs at Alpine Creek. When I come inside, I go and visit the nurse, and then I have a job for office helper, so I help Mrs. Ponce. The next day I go and I'm office helper, and then on the last day I'm Friday, and I like helping with them because I care about them, and I like doing it because it helps me not be mean to people.
So one phrase I want you to practice a lot is you describe what the child did, so how it helped another human being, and tag it with that was helpful, that was thoughtful, that was considerate. So it would be, you held the door open so others could walk in. That was helpful. You offered your friend a pen so they could finish their work. That was thoughtful. You have to link it, what they're doing, to how they're helping another human being. Because children at this age have severe cognitive distortions. They are very self-centered. It's all about me. It's all about me, because the higher centers of the brain have not developed from early on. So their self-centeredness needs to be disabled, and that comes from showing them how they help others.
Hey, Nicole, can you head over to the computer? It's time for Moby Math.
Okay. You're welcome.
Hey, before you get started, on the way over here, you bent down and helped Olivia pick up all her stuff and put it back in her desk so she could continue working on math. That was helpful. All right, guys, it's time to clean up indoor recess.
Olivia, I noticed you helping and I clean up so we could get back on track. That was helpful.
They also minimize or maximize their impact on others. Oh, that didn't bother him. You know, she was laughing. She wanted me to hit her. So they'll make excuses like that. So you'll have to use the phrase, well, see her face, see her body, see her eyes, see the tears. Those say, I don't like it.
Would you like to read this book? Hey, shut up, stupid.
Hector, did you like the way that Aaron spoke to you? Aaron, look at his face. His face is saying, I don't like it when you talk to me that way. He was asking if you would like to read the book. If you don't want to read it, say, no thanks. I'm going to pick out my own book.
You also have to help them, because they will blame others. They will not take responsibility. They will blame others for all that they do. So they might say, well, you know, Robert made me do it. So your response to that could be, so Robert's the boss of you? And since they like control so much, they go, well, no. Well, what could you do if you were the boss of you to improve this situation or treat this person with respect? And they'll probably say, I don't know, but at least you have a teaching moment again to start teaching those social skills over and over and over again. And we also have to watch very carefully our make me language. Look how you made her feel. Look how she made you feel. That implies that you are in charge of their upset. You are in charge of their internal state, and you do have control of everybody in the universe. We've got to change that. Instead of look how you made her feel, you would say, see her face. Her face is saying, I feel sad, I feel angry, or I don't like it when you push me. I don't care means I don't feel cared for. And when they say, I don't care, no consequences effective in the world, release your need to punish, release your need to impose consequences, and focus deeply on bringing these kids into the fold in a sense of belonging. We have to constantly intervene, because changing that template of how to negotiate relationships, changing that template of how to negotiate and regulate arousal and our upset takes intensity and practice, but you can do it.
Okay. Any comments from that? I know
it was good, but I've never seen a classroom that quiet and organized.
Of course, there was a camera in there.
I think my challenge, I've taken this class before and I've taken another parenting class, and they're opposite. They teach cause and effect. And this is saying, and that's the hardest thing when somebody does something wrong, to not have a consequence.
Right.
Because this is my age group, and it's really challenging for me.
Okay, let me hold that for a second, because Sarita was about to talk at the beginning and then got disconnected there.
Oh, I was just asking, who was that woman that was speaking in the video? Because I got on late, so I didn't hear the introduction.
Okay. We've been doing a series for making a bully from scratch. This is Dr. Becky Bailey from Conscious Discipline. And if you go back to the other ones, you can see all the videos because they do build on each other. And
okay.
Yeah, I
So that's cool. It sounds familiar to a group that I'm in right now, like the whole like gentle parenting and stuff.
mhm.
I think that there was a name like Whiffler or something like that, but
Okay.
it's the same like kind of concept. So yeah.
Okay, good. Well, by the name, you can see conscious discipline is taking the concepts of our regular and traditional upbringing and discipline to another level. So um, you may have a different parenting approach, which doesn't mean that that is wrong. It just means it goes before this one. Okay, because one of the things that you do, like I can't just automatically punish a child for doing something that I haven't taught him first. Okay, so the consequences had to be taught. The consequences had to be explained before it actually happens. And if something happens without you explaining that before, then that is the teaching moment. Then that one becomes the let me explain something. When this happens, then this will be the consequence. I know it hadn't happened before, so I hadn't told you, but now you're warned. So what do you think we should do this time? And you can negotiate with your child what is the best way by the response, you know, where they're at mentally on that moment. Now, what she's talking about here is talking about children that have had problems, that have been either you adopted them, or they had been raised by somebody else, like a grandchild. You're not really the one teaching them all the time, and they come to your house. And what do you do then? And because we started this series about how to make a bully from scratch, we're talking about children with difficulties in learning from the get-go. So then how do you do that? If a child, you raised your child, if your child has never been neglected, has never been abused, has never had any of those things, then you can discipline your child and the response would not be the same as a child that had those problems. And that's what she's saying. A child that has been neglected, that has been ignored, and when he says, I don't care, is because he doesn't feel that he's being cared for. Then whatever you try to teach, if there's not a connection, if there is not an attachment, it is toxic to that child. So that's why it's important to listen to the ones before, because, and let me share my screen because I wanted us to review those things, because I know it's, this is a learning curve for all of us. And let me tell you, I wish I had learned all these things when I was teaching my children, but that was not the case. So I'm learning now things like when she was saying, this is the model. Remember, the safety, connection, and problem solving. So let me put here. This is what we did last time, creating the routines, the connecting, and the rituals. So I'm just going to give you my own example. So I had my first two children. I was a stay-at-home mom and took care of them from the get-go. They never went to a childcare. Nobody else took care of them but me. So then on my third child, when he is about 2 years old, my marriage just dissolved. We ended up in divorce. But at that point, I had to go to work. I had to, our life changed completely. And he was the only one that had to go to a daycare. And then when I remarried and I started homeschooling, there was a lot of in and out. I had 3 jobs. My husband was working different shifts so that we can both take care of them. It was very chaotic. compared to what the other two were. But I realized that not being there with him, I didn't create a lot of those connections, and not having a little child that he could do the connections too. Like she was saying, if you have a child that never had that and it's already, 8 years old or 10 years old, how do you create that when you skip that stage where you play with him like, itsy bitsy spider, and you're doing the walking up the arms and things like that you do with a little child. Well, a bigger child is like, this is, childish, and they're going to laugh. So, but then you teach them how to do that to a younger sibling. Well, my youngest one was the youngest one. There was not another one that he could teach it to. So we skipped that. If he learned any of that or not in daycare, I don't know. I would drop him off on my way to work. I would pick him up on my way back to home. And then on my way back home, I have 2 children. I have a house to take care of, cook and clean and bathe them, help them with their homework, and send them back to bed so that they can go to school the next day and I can go to work. So when you're missing those, I can tell you, I've noticed that by the time he was 18 years old is when I started this career with neuroscience. And I realized, whoa, there were things. I was the typical helicopter mom. If he needed something, I'll rush to it. I helped him. Don't worry about it. I'll do this for you. It was constantly trying to make up, I guess, because I felt guilty, the things that I didn't do when he was younger. And because finally, thank God, everything got quiet down by the time he was 5 years old. So I started to homeschooled him. And then, but I skipped a few of the years. There were 3 years of his development that I just skipped. And I thought, well, we're all fine now, so it's okay. Well, let me tell you, it's not, because when you skip those, they will show up eventually. So we then at 18 started to reteach things and say, so sorry, my fault. You should have known this. We should have done this differently. What do you think you should do now? And get them to think and not think for him. So there's a lot of things that we all have different lives, that we all have different situations. And then how do you cope with them? Doesn't mean that, well, we're doomed, thanks, Mom, now I'm doomed forever. No, that's not the case at all. We can relearn this. We can apologize and receive forgiveness from our children, which is healthy for them. Obviously, our Father knew what the situation was and how they needed to learn something, not just them, but us too, according to the life that he has given us in the situation we're all in. And it's like, well, those that have all the money and don't have to work, and those that can have the perfect family. But me, I had A, B, C, and D, and therefore, I'm just doomed to this life. No, we've been called to be overcomers. So that means that I overcome my situations, and each one of us overcomes the situations that we're in. And our Father knows exactly where we're in, and he gives us the opportunities to do what we need to do at any given point in our lives. And that's the whole purpose of this. This is not to make us feel bad and horrible, and there is no hope for us or our children. On the contrary, what can we learn and how can we change that? And well, didn't do it right. I'm going to do it right now. So any comments on that? Feel free to unmute. Yes, Sarita?
No, I was just saying that was so good and like insightful. Because my oldest, when I had him, I went back to work after 12 weeks. And then my good friend, because I didn't want to put him in daycare, so I did have my friend, she was a believer. She already had 3 children, she already had 3 children, and she was already a stay-at-home mom. So she actually took care of my son until he was a little over 1, and then I came back home. So like she actually had him on a really good sleep schedule, which I'm so thankful for, because to this day, like when he's ready to go to bed, he'll go to bed. And my 5-year-old, finally, like that last slide that you're showing with like the routine and stuff, like I am like, I'm just now starting to do routine, because for the longest time I'm like, I don't like routines because then I can't do what I want to do when I want to do it. I don't want to be stuck in the schedule, but I'm learning now that no, that is Yah's way, and I need to be on a schedule, and I need to let him interrupt my day if that's what needs to happen, but I should have something set so that I can actually progress through the day and have some sort of like, like, oh, check. I got that done at least, you know, and so it was really, that was so good. But my 8-year-old, like, he fell asleep early the other day, and he woke up and he's like, I have so much energy. I'm going to go to bed early every night. And I was like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah.
It was like really funny that it happened that way. So now he's asking to go to bed early, and the father has told me like, you need to go to bed by 9 o'clock. So I've like had to like shut my phone off, and it's like, it's been hard, but there's such a big benefit. So getting myself on a schedule is actually benefiting my children. And it's like, oh, I wish I would have done this earlier, because my friend was like, get him on a schedule, and I'm like, I'm not gonna be stuck at home all day. I was very selfish. When she was talking about children are selfish and they think the world revolves around them, I'm like, yep, and that's what my problem was. Like, I didn't allow for their lives to be impacted in a positive way. So yeah, learning that. So they're at the park playing while I'm listening to this. My 8-year-old, he's like, come on, Mom, because I wasn't a player. My husband was the player. Now that, you know, he's deceased, like I've had to kind of like, I need to play with them more. So he's like, come on. I'm like, honey, I'm listening to a parenting class. I'm like, it's for me so I can learn to be a better parent. And he kind of looked at me like, fine, you're off the hook. And he went and played.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, so this is so good. I made it on today.
Yes, I am too. Thank you for sharing that, Sarita. It is amazing. It feels like it's forever when they're little. And let me tell you, I have grandchildren now, and I realized, no, it wasn't forever. It really went really fast. But when you're in the midst of it, it's like, oh, am I going to do this? Like you said, you know, am I going to be stuck in this schedule and at home for this number of, you know, forever is what we think at that point. But the truth is it isn't. And those structures are the foundation that our children then eventually are able to build from. So when they don't have structure, when their walls, you know, they have a foundation if they've had a good 0 to 3. But if those walls that starts being built around for it, not the walls, the structure of the building are not there. They're just like one day there is a wall, the next day there is not a wall. You know, today we do this, tomorrow we do that. You know, when there is so much change, what happens to them? They feel like nothing is for real. So therefore, what do I even care? So it is important that they have a structure, you know, at least there are beams that hold where a wall should be going up eventually, but there are beams there. They know that whatever happens, there is some kind of security, and every house is going to be built different. Every kid that we have is different. So all the way, you know, every child will build those walls differently, will have different appliances. They will all have water and electricity and you know, gas if they want to cook with gas. You know, whatever they choose will be a little different for each one of them, because they're according to their personality, they buy the appliance that they like. But it's important that they all have water and they all have electricity, and then they all have a roof about their, you know, on their heads. Now, how they dress up that house will be different for each one of them, but that structure is what we give them in those first years of life. And today, what was the main purpose of this, and if you see right now, I just try to go back to the road sign number 1 was that difficult temperament. If the child was having a hard time with attachment is the most important one in the first, this was 0 to 3 years. Then the road sign number 2, it was if you see that your child has difficulty playing and with other children. So then continue to work on attachment and connecting them. Then road number, and that was from 3 to 5. And then from 3, so then at 3, if they had a difficult temperament, if they were having difficulty playing with other children, then at road number 3, which would be 5 to 8 or 9, then we're going to have difficulty establishing and maintaining those friendships. So then you have to go back and realize, okay, so if that's happening there at that age when they're going to school for the first time, or they're part of a homeschooling group, or however they socialize with other children, then we have to go back and say, okay, the attachment and that connection it's not happening with him. So we need to build on that, because then we get to the next one, which is the number 4, which is I don't care. At that point, if they can't connect with other children, they can't maintain friendships, then they start closing down. And then it gets even worse by the time we get to teenagers. So we need to work on that while they are, they're preteens before they get to that teenage years. That makes it a little bit more challenging. So what we're working on now in this age is a sense of belonging. They know that, they either, if they are in any type of sports, or if they're a part of a congregation, that there are some kind of groups where they are helping each other. They have a goal, they have a purpose where they all pitch in with their gifts and talents so that they can make something out of that. That is very important, whether it is you put them in some kind of sports, or they do some kind of outreach, like, being helpful, like going to a nursing home. I know that up to now, everything was closed, but now they're opening it up again, and caring for others, even volunteer sometimes on a pet shelter, where they help either clean up the cages, take the dogs or cats out, pet them or take them for a walk, or whatever it is that they can help that place, and do it as a group. That is so important, that they help, that they know that they can be of help to someone, because we all have strengths. So what is your strength? Whatever it is, you use that in order to give them a sense of mastery. Like, I'm good at this. I have something that I can do. And so then that helps them be at service to others, and say, there is something that I can do for others, because otherwise during those years, and that's what I noticed with my youngest, was when that was not built in for him, he became very self-centered. And you probably have heard this before. Oh, he's the Benjamin of the house. He's the little baby. And therefore, they think it's all about them. Well, yes, and yes. Yes, it is true. And yes, being the youngest contributes to this, unless we do something about it. And the something about it is help them connect with somebody else. If it's not in your household, then it is in some kind of social setting, whether it's in the congregation that you go to, with a larger family, if you have, little cousins that he may have, or however you can make that happen, we have to make that happen for them. That is our responsibility, not theirs. So we have to help them be able to be helpful to others, do things with others that are younger than them if they happen to be the youngest in the household. Because we need to, like she was saying, dismantle that self-centeredness that is normal in all of our lives. But you remember, let me see, I think I put it over here. Oh yeah, it's here at the end. It says that when they are, let me move this, self-centered, because their higher centers of the brain have not developed, and their response will be to blame others. They won't take responsibility. And if, I don't know about you, but what comes to your mind in the Bible when you hear that? Which ones were the first ones to blame somebody else for their disobedience?
Adam.
Yep. Adam and Eve. Adam blamed her. Go ahead. Oh, your voice is breaking up. I couldn't understand. Did somebody hear it that was able to hear it? Because I couldn't. Okay. Did you guys freeze or did I freeze?
I can see you fine.
Okay. Were you the one talking before? Sarita?
No, it wasn't me.
Okay. Whoever was, I couldn't see right now because I have the screen. I'm sharing my screen. I can only see 4 of you. So I can move my windows to see the other ones, but I didn't know who was talking. And whoever it was, did you guys hear what that person said? Because I didn't. No? Okay.
You mean me? Oh, I just said Adam and Eve.
I'm so sorry. I cannot.
I just said Adam and Eve. That's all.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, awesome. And who was talking? I'm sorry, I couldn't see your.
It was Sombra.
Sombra? Okay, awesome. Yes, you're right. That was Adam and Eve. And so we can see, I don't, we can all agree to disagree if we have different insights of what happened with Adam and Eve. I know this has been studied, forever since they were the first ones, and every theological school have come up with some kind of understanding on this. But when I see things like this, that, they were created, and I don't believe that they were perfect. I don't believe that they were finished, so to speak. I believe that God had a plan, and that's where it started. And the Garden of Eden becomes our Shabbat place and our feast place where we go to Him when we are obedient to the things that He has called us to do, which is to rest. Every Shabbat, we get to go home. We get to sit at His feet. We get to hear from Him. We get to be refreshed and nourished by our Father. And so, it wasn't like, okay, well, you were perfect and now you're imperfect, and therefore we are all imperfect. I think we were all learning to develop those higher centers of the brain. And going back to what you were saying, Kathy, the way I always see that is, the law, the Torah, His instructions to us haven't changed. They have been the same yesterday, today, and forever, because we know that our Messiah is the Word of God. living. So, and he doesn't change. So I don't think that things change. I think things go in stages. Like the law continues to be the same for us, but the way it was at the beginning, like when we see him rescuing, making the covenant with Abraham, and then doing, the feast with them and laying that foundation for them and that structure. It was there for them like it is for us. But as we see them go through the desert into the promised land, somehow, and this is just me, I see like the development of a baby being birthed at Passover. And then as they're going through the wilderness, they're going through different developments. They go through elementary, they go through high school, and we see all the challenges that they face and how God intervenes in them. But then I see them when Yeshua comes, it becomes a little, stronger in the sense of, I'm not just saying you sin when you commit adultery. I say you have sinned when you have, desired someone in your heart. So he is going to a higher level of responsibility in our walk, and more not just what's written, but how do you apply that? I'm not saying at all that didn't happen in the Old Testament. I'm just saying that I can see that development as the whole canon is put together. If you see a bird's view and you say, oh, okay, so all these things need to take place in order. And in between this and this, we see all the times that it went wrong, all the maze that we make out of our lives and how we learn from going in the wrong direction. Whoop, there's a wall, whoop, another wall, whoop, another wall. And, we learn from how God used humanity, all the different parts of the human kind, in order to develop us to revelation where we become overcomers. So just putting that whole, word into a little, a summarized version of it, then we can use it to know how each one of us need to go. And we will grow. You don't tell a 2-year-old, okay, well, you are not going to eat now because mommy has to do this, that, and the other. And then because of this, and you just say, in 5 minutes, it will be ready. And that's it. Yeah, I know you're hungry. 5 minutes, it will be ready. And then, but if it's an older child, you can say, this and this and this needs to be done. And if you're hungry, help me. And then that child is old enough that can actually say, sure, mom, what could I help? And then you can make the meal together. So I believe that you're still teaching that 2-year-old to wait. I know you're hungry. It will be ready in just a minute. You want to see what mommy's doing? And then you can allow them to watch you. And you're still teaching, just like you can say to the other one, can you help? Or if it's old enough that actually can do something for himself, I said, you know what? Mom is doing the laundry right now. Why don't you make a sandwich for yourself? And he can make his own sandwich if he's hungry. Or there's already food in the refrigerator. Why don't you go and warm it up? So, it's the same teaching, just different stages of our life. So I don't think I was I'm still black and white in a lot of areas, but I'm trying to navigate better the gray. So if I see something in a teaching, I don't think anymore, so which one is better, this one or this one? I'm more now tend to lean towards Jolisa's answer than yes, they're both good. They both have something that I can glean from. They both can help me in this way or that way. We're all different. And our Father knows that. So he creates all all different gamuts. You know, it's like he didn't create one type of bird, one type of fish, one type of mammal. You know, he just created all variety of them. And that is the beauty of who he is and how he presents things to us. So some things may work for one of your children better than the other, depending on the level of development there are. So to do a blank statement and say, no, all of them have to go this way, then it will be a disservice to each one of your children. They're unique. They need to know they're unique, because we tend to say, well, if we do it for one, we have to do it for all. You know, it has to be fair in this household. And yes, you know, it could be fair, but in different ways. It doesn't have to be exactly the same for each one of them, because, you know, when I said to an older child, okay, give me that phone or give me that tablet or whatever it is, and to that child was like, oh, you know, horrible, and they would do anything to get it back. My youngest one's like, I don't care, and he would just give it back to me. There was no punishment that worked with him. He didn't care. So they're all different. So trying to do the same thing because it worked for the other two, it's not always going to be the case for all your children. So let me go to the next one. Oh, no, that was it. That was the last one. So with that said, what are ways that that you do, because the bottom line of this is helping our children be of service to others. In this age, if they don't master that, they will be very selfish. And let me tell you, I was one of them, and I learned, but I learned the hard way. It was bang, bang, bang against walls every time it didn't go my way, because I wanted always my way. So I was never taught to be useful. I was taught to take care of my younger siblings. It was my job to take care of them because I was older. So, but that doesn't mean I was being helpful. I was just mom. I became the second mom, and that's not right either. So what do you have to say about that? Can you guys give me your input?
My son is in Trail Life, which is kind of like Boy Scouts, but very Christian based. They haven't lost the moral compass yet. Mm-hmm. And they actually, I always make sure we get there a little early so he can help with any chairs or setting up flags or just anything to be helpful. Mm-hmm. And mm-hmm. then every other month, they go to the American Legion and they help serve food. And mm-hmm. it has really been amazing because they are helping these veterans, but yet the veterans are helping them. Yeah. And the connections that are being made, and they're just loving each other and seeing how that is making my son is 6. Mm-hmm. So seeing how that is helping him grow in that, and he looks forward to it. The first time he was like, really, I got to get up this early. We homeschool and I clean houses for a living. And so, you know, if he wants to sleep for a while, I'll just carry him out or whatever. And then he can wake up and do his school whenever he gets up. Mm-hmm. But to have to be somewhere dressed and ready to work at 7 was kind of, you know, but now he's like, is it time to go? Can we go? And we do the same thing when we go to Shabbat fellowship service, and, you know, he helps clean the tables, and he takes pride in that now. That's his job. Mm-hmm. Not that anybody gave it to him. He gave it to himself. Mm-hmm. So just trying to open those. I didn't realize it was for anything like this. I just, you should learn to help. So people help us and we should help them. And it just, we all work together and things can get done a lot easier. Right. So, mm-hmm. Which as a single mom is kind of our lifestyle anyway. He is 6 and he helps me with pretty much everything I do. Laundry, cooking. I mean, of course, I don't let him like cook on the stove by himself or something, but he has his own little kid knives that he can use, and mm-hmm. he helps chop things. And just where we can work together to get stuff done.
Yes. So you're building that sense of belonging. You're a family, so everybody pitches in, right?
Yes.
Sense of mastery. He knows he's good at something, and he picked already what he wants to do, what he feels he's good at. And he's being of service. So those are three things that are really important at that age, and are important at any age, because unfortunately we can be honest and say we've known people, whether in our lives or that we know in our circles, that that still don't have a sense of belonging, that they are not good for anything, or so they think they aren't. And you'll ask them, and he goes, "No, I don't know. I don't know what I'm good at. I don't do anything right," or they don't think that they're important, or they are never. It's all give me, give me, give me, and they never give. And we are light, and light always gives. So that's something that we have to learn from an early life, early in our life, that we are here to give. Our Messiah came to serve. He was God. He is God. He doesn't need anything from us, but he came and he modeled that for us. He always fed, he always healed, he always comforted those that needed, even before he shared with them important principles of the word. The first thing was, are you hungry? He fed them. Are you sick? He healed them. So we get to do that as we walk in his steps and learn from him. And it's not like I deserve, well, you're my mom, you feed me, you do this for me. We have to change that, because it is very natural. We will do that without anybody teaching us that. That is called survival mode. When we live in that, it's all about us, and it's all about give me, give me, give me. And, we just did the Parsha last week. What was their, they had cattle. We know that. They said that they weren't going to leave any hoof back in Egypt, and they took stuff from the Egyptians. So they had meat, but they were like, we want meat. We want you to give us meat, not this. What is it? They call that, it's the name of manna. And so it's like, I deserve it. You took me out of Egypt. Did you take me out to, kill me in the desert? Feed me. That attitude has to change. And it is very beastly, like it's part of our nature to that's the part that was born first, right? On day 6, beast was created first, and then man. So that is the first thing that comes out of the womb, is our beastly nature, and it has to grow. It has to grow and separate upper waters from lower waters, and gather the seed on 3rd day. And third day is harmony, is coming together, is being one kind, one mind. So it stops being the me, it's us now, So we have to go through those days of development, not just spiritually, not just physically, but spiritually too. And that's where that being of service comes in. That is the spirit of counsel, right? We receive from others. And I can receive from you if I'm in my house all day long and I never see people. I have to learn to be with others. Yes.
Sydney?
Yes.
You also have to look at what the child's bent is.
What the
what the child's bent is, what their skill level is, And so whenever we have somebody who needs to move, we go and we help. And, I'm good at picking up boxes, and Asher's good at picking up boxes, and Elias is good at picking up boxes. But Janny's good at playing with the children. And that's a
Awesome.
need as well when you're moving
yeah.
a house. And so with construction, you know, Asher will help with construction. So if I have a friend who has a construction project, I can send Asher, or I can send Elias and Asher to go and do a cleanup project. But I had a girlfriend who had a hysterectomy and needed help with a child. And so I sent Janny. And so you have to look at what your children's strengths are. Because if I tried to help get Janny to go pick up boxes, it's not a good fit.
Yeah, that's that sense of mastery. Yes. If they don't come up with themselves with what they're good at, you know, you see them day in, day out, and you're like, you're really good at this. I see you. You're always helping in this area. If they haven't, you know, seen it themselves, they will, you know, agree with you and say, yeah, I guess I am. And that's that sense of mastery, and then put it to work in serving others with. That's awesome, Sambra. Exactly right. And nothing is less, like you said, nothing is less than the other. Helping kids is not better than picking up boxes or vice versa. They're both helpful. So awesome. Okay, any other comments? When it's talking about cognitive distortions, what do you think she's talking about here?
Well, I wanted to kind of springboard off of what she had said a minute ago.
Sure.
With their strengths.
Mm-hmm.
I help lead the single moms group. I go to Sabbath, I go to Shabbat on Saturday, and I still go to a Sunday church because I help lead a group of single moms. And I just haven't felt that I'm supposed to be called away from that at this point. And so I help them, a lot of them, with their children's, and many of them, definitely we need to look at the child's strengths, but we need to make sure we're giving them the option to show their strengths. I've got a couple of moms that they've got a boy and they've got a boy, and that's what it is. He can't help with kids. He can't, you know, he's supposed to go build something. He's supposed to go, I mean, does that make sense? Whereas he, you know, he has a very nurturing side about him. He was an abused child. I think he wants to nurture because he didn't feel that when he was younger. And sometimes, as well-meaning as mom is trying to make him a man, I think it may be that sidestep. So I just kind of wanted to add that sometimes we have to get out of the way and let them show us what God has put in them. And it may be a healing tool for them also.
Right.
So, and it may be something. My older son, who is 19, there were things that he didn't want to do because the world said it wasn't a boy thing. And then, you know, I'd be like, well, you know, I've got to go do this, so you're going to have to be with me at least. And then come to find out, he actually really enjoyed it. And it wasn't a boy or a girl thing. It was just a human thing. Yeah. So I just wanted to kind of add that in there.
And actually, that's exactly, you just answered my question. You know, what are those cognitive distortions? Because we have to remember that whatever we teach our children, it depends what they hear and how they hear it. Everybody has their own filter. So that means that what I hear may be very different than what each one of you will hear. I will hear better things that I like, and you guys may hear better things that you like, and what you like may not be something I like, or what I like may not be something you like. So it's interesting to see how we say something and then we ask our children, okay, what did I say? And then each one of them may have a totally different response. And you're like, that's, you know, obviously one of them may be the one that has the right answer. And then you say, that's exactly what I said. I didn't say that or that. Well, you might have not, but that's how they heard you. And that's where those cognitive distortions happen. Mom said this, and then the other one said, no, mom didn't say that. Mom said to do this, if this and this or that. And they go, she said this. And that child heard it like black and white. Mom said that or else, and the other one says, no, she said if we wanted to. It's really interesting. So with that said, yes, you have to realize that every kid will be different, will do things differently, will perceive things differently, and we have to take time to listen to each one of them. I hadn't had until I closed the screen sharing, I couldn't read the chat, so now I'm reading it, and I'm reading, what you guys wrote and here, and going back from the beginning. Sambra, you're talking about your child, and it is hard. That's the case with my little one. That is not that little, but he got married young, and and he's the one who has my grandchildren and all that. Being that by the time he left, we did kind of made a few corrections before he got married at age 18 that I said, but after that he went into the army and he was gone for years, and we just saw them on and off when we visited. And it is one of the ones that I would say we have given the most, because it's the youngest, but it's not the one that we have the strongest connection with. Yeah, and it's really interesting how that works. And but our Father knows that. I really want all of you to hear this, that our Father knows exactly what He has placed in our plate. He knows exactly what each one of us were at the time we had our children, at the time our children were growing up, the type of child He gave us. We didn't create those children, even though we may think we did. Those children were given to us. God has a purpose for them. In order for them to be the man and the woman God has for their life, the purpose that He has for their life, they needed to be in our lives. And He's teaching us through them. So, just keep working at that. Find ways to connect. If the lack of connection is something that you can see now, work on those things. Find out what are the things that He likes. Now they're adults. When they are gone and married and out of our lives, it's like you're relearning who He is. And it's like, just imagine a new friend that you're getting, and you want to know everything about your friend, and then let them teach you who they are now, and then find ways to connect with Him right now where He's at. And it's all, I always say this about medicine, it's called a practice, because they're always practicing with all of us. And so is parenting. Parenting is not all nicely written in one book. Even the Torah, it has a lot of gaps. He doesn't say, okay, this is what you do when your baby's born the first day, and this you do on the second day, and this you do on the third. We don't get that. We get little glimpses of here and then and there, and we just have to apply them the best way we can. And so we're learning. We keep learning. And the important thing is we don't give up. We're overcomers. So whatever difficulty, whether it's health difficulty or, geography, they're not under our roof, they're somewhere else, they're far away. Whatever it is, they're not our own, or they're somebody else's kid, but we're raising them, whatever the situation is. We just have to do the best we can and know that our Father knows it all. Really lean on the Holy Spirit to guide us, and glean from, different teachings, different understanding. I love to know how the brain works. That's my thing. I love how that happens. And I want to do, when we finish this, the next one, which is the teenagers, I want to do a teaching with you all, whoever wants to be part of it, that you can teach your children how to work brain and body, because our brain, everything that we have learned in our lives is in a library that we have back here, and it's called the amygdala. That library holds everything from the time you were in your mother's womb all the way up to now. And those that information has been imprinted, not just in your brain, has been imprinted in all the cells of your body. That's how PTSD works. So something triggers a smell, a color, a sight, a touch, something triggers something that is back there in the library. And then you go right back to that moment in time, and you find yourself acting like a 3-year-old, or you find yourself acting like a 5-year-old. And then you're like, where did that come from? And it embarrasses you, because it's like, I do not know why I did that, or why somebody said something and you responded like, you reacted really in a way that was way too much for what the situation was. So obviously it was not the situation, it just triggered you. So all those things are important, that we go to that foundation. If it was faulty in any given way, that we go back there, that we can help that in our lives, that we can teach that to our children, so that they can help it in their lives, because they are responsible of their own brain and body. And then, because that has nothing to do with the mind. And then all that we're talking about parenting, it's a lot of the mind. How does the mind work? But if we clear our brain and we make that connection between body and brain better, it's like we are clearing rocks and things that are in the way, in the journey, so that the mind can connect to the brain better. So it's kind of like the brain and the body is that basal, that survival mode that we all have, is very animal-like, is just based on instincts. And then you have the brain, the executive, that is part of the mind, not the brain, I'm sorry. Then you have the mind, that's where the mind of Messiah is, that we learn from, that we apply his word to our life from, is where we reason and we solve problems and where we overcome problems. So I want to help you with that, because one of the things about last week's portion too was the job of the priests, and the priests were there to lay their hands on the animal, right? So that's us. We can lay our hands on our animal part and help our animal to relate to our spiritual man and work together, not against each other, and have that, constant fight. So we're going to do that after we do the next one, that it's about adolescence. And let's see, was there anything else? If there's anything that you can think of that by the time I get there, needs shoes. Okay, so who was this? I don't know who Torah Heroes is, but you're saying that you have a classroom for 4-year-olds, and you can go to consciousdiscipline.com. They have a lot of free resources, especially now because of COVID, for teachers. And you will find a lot of amazing stuff. They actually approved conscious discipline to be used in, what's the name of the program? Head Start. And that is going to be fabulous because those children will learn how to function this way from an early age before they actually get to school. And there's a lot of schools that are implementing it too. But I know that Head Start did implement this program. Well, Sombra just left. Okay. Anything else before we leave? No. Okay, so for those of you that have not seen the other videos, it is important to watch, especially the first one is a little bit longer. It's like about 15 minutes or something less than 15 minutes. But then the other ones are short. They're like 7 minutes each or 8 or something. They're short videos. And then they just build on 0 to 3, then 3 to 5, then 8 to 9, and this one was 9 to 12, and then the next one that, and they're all there, so you can watch ahead if you want to, the teenage one. But it's really neat because, you know, it started from creating a bully from scratch, and then the 18-year, the last one on teenagers, you're going to hear the testimony of this young man that he tells you how he was a bully and how that this turned him around. And it didn't turn him around as a kid. This turned him around already as a teenager, that he was bullying and hurting kids in school, and how he's one of the spokesmen. There are videos about him on YouTube that you can watch. And it's really awesome to see how there's hope for all of us. So never feel like there is a hopeless situation and, oh, they're gone and they're no longer here. So, you know, there's nothing I can do. Nope. Until we have breath in our lungs, there is hope to do anything we need to do. And at the point that our breath or our spirit goes back where it came from, then that is the Father's doing from that point on. But here he wants us to join him and work with him. Well, thank you, ladies. Love doing this journey with you and learning together, because I always learn from you guys something new every time. So thank you and have a wonderful week. For those that, let's see, Sitting at the Well is in 2 weeks for those that want to come and have more adultish conversation.
Thank you, Simi.
My pleasure. Thank you for joining us and sharing. Okay. Bye, everyone.